Hey, Taylor Elwood, mad scientist and magical experimenter here, and I was recently asked, how do you grow your spiritual community? By my good friend Mike Centenia. He has a spiritual community he's trying to grow, so I thought I'd go ahead and answer this via video because I think it's a great question. And here's the thing. I actually have a spiritual community that I'm part of that I've grown over time, and I also have a couple of online spiritual communities. Today we're going to talk about the in-person spiritual community and how you grow it. Now, there are typically two types of spiritual communities. There's the public community, and then there's also the private community. The public community is open to anyone. And the private community is generally a community that it's private. It's only open to certain people, and there's usually some type of requirement when it comes to how people get access to that community. So for example, with the private community that I have set up, not just anyone can join. We don't publicly announce our events, we don't publicly share them. Instead, what we do is, if people want to bring somebody into the group, then they need to meet with me, and I interview them, and I get a sense of who they are and whether or not they're a good fit for the group. And among other things, one of the things that I ask is, are you discreet? Because not everybody wants to be out of the closet, so you want to be careful about that. Are you are you respectful of other people's spiritual traditions and practices, even if it's not something that you would do? Again, that's an important thing, because the particular formation of our group is really set up around, people sharing their different spiritual practices and beliefs. And so all of that plays a role. Now, if you have a public group, I think that you don't have to worry about some of those things as much. You're meeting in public anyway, so it's a bit more open. But here's what I think is the key to making a group really successful. It's going to seem odd, but there's just one thing, and it's food. It may seem odd, but it's actually food, and here's why. Because when you share food with somebody, it's a very social activity. And in fact, it's a form of trust, and it's a form of community building right there. So what I recommend, if you're doing a spiritual, if you're creating a spiritual community, or you want your spiritual community to grow, set it up around a meal. Don't set up the spiritual community meeting outside of a mealtime, and here's why. Because when it's outside of a mealtime, people are less inclined to go. But if you want to get together with people and really help build a community, set it up around a mealtime. Have some time for the meal, have some social time, and then go into the spiritual topic or working that you're going to do. Now, this might work a bit differently if you're in a group where people are actively working together all the time anyway. You may not necessarily need to do a meal. But I noticed that in general with communities, that the communities that seem to thrive the best have some type of social structure attached to it. They're not just there to talk shop. They're there to actually get to know each other and build relationships. And they're having a meal. They're sharing some time together. And the result is that they're able to grow their spiritual communities, because they're not spending all their time on the spiritual topic, as it were, but instead what they're doing is they're actually taking the time to develop a solid relationship through the social time that they have. And whether you have your group public or private, I recommend doing that. Now, I'll just say that again, I personally opt for private groups as far as in-person meetings, and the reason for that really just comes right down to, you want to make sure that the people who come to your group really are the right fit. Let's be honest here, and in spiritual communities, there are definitely going to be some people who are a bit left field, or maybe you're left field for those people, or whatever else. Not everyone fits together, and it's okay. We don't necessarily need to have everyone fit together, but what we do need to know is how important it is to be true to ourselves, and how important it is to recognize who we associate with and what they bring to our lives. Do we want to be dealing with lots of drama or not? Do we want to be do we want to be having to do therapy for somebody or not? Ask yourself what the intention for your community really is, and then what rules you need to have in place in order to make that community successful. All right, so hopefully that answers that question. I'll probably have some more in a blog post as well, but thanks for watching and take care.